Good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. I'm wearing one of my favorite pieces of green gear. Fellas, if you need to make a decision regarding a romantic interest, you must jerk it first. Clear your mind, make a better decision. Description or link in the description box to get a hold of this green gear and many others. So I talked yesterday about Maxine Waters and her continuing, and I don't think she's done, continuing to allow stupid, unprofessional, dumb, inflammatory shit to come out of that hole under her nose. So she was talking about how if protesters don't get the verdict they want, which according to her should be for a first-degree murder, if it doesn't come back, and I quote, guilty, 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 then the protesters should, and I quote again, get more confrontational. So these words made it to the ears of the judge over the Officer Chauvin case, the George Floyd case. So the judge, he was pissed. He did not like the fact that she was saying that. And you could tell he was getting mad. What he wanted to say was, I wish these politicians would shut the fuck up and stay out of my business. But in a very professional manner, the way Maxine should have said it, AKA Aunt Pearl. And if you don't know who Aunt Pearl is, back in the day on Friday, Saturday nights, we would sit down and watch the NBC lineup, Golden Girls, Empty Nest, Sunny Spoon, all this shit, and 227. It was a show about this black family in this apartment building, and downstairs was the nosy ass old lady named Aunt Pearl. And she looks dead on Maxine Waters, James Brown, stunt double, Yaphet Kotto, whatever you want to call her. But anyway, the words of this dummy made it to the ears of the judge, and he was pissed. He said, I heard what Congresswoman Waters said, and I wish she wouldn't have said that. I've heard other politicians directly speak about this case, and I wish they would do so in a professional manner and one that doesn't harm the process that we're trying to conduct here. And he says, I think that I have that link. If not, I'll find it. I'll put it in the description box so you can hear the words from the judge himself. You can see that he's pissed off. But he ends it with saying that he did tell the jury to stay away from social media. He's trusting that they will do so, and he doesn't think that what she said will influence their decision. Now, on paper, that's great, but these are people we're dealing with here. And if they did hear what she said, that could possibly change their mind. That could interfere with the process. That could obstruct the process. Some might call it obstruction of justice. You can get in trouble for that. I'm pretty sure that's a no-no. I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that they tried to nail Trump on. But like I said, the judge was visibly pissed. He did not like what she said, but according to his words, he does not think that will negatively affect the jury if they stay away from social media like he told them to, or the internet, he said, period. And I hope they did. I hope they do. I hope they do stay away from the social media. I hope they don't see the footage of what she said. But it's a possibility, and it was reckless and stupid for her to say that. Now, there are two things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to have to do two videos because there's no way that I can talk about either one of these topics and try to keep it short. I'm just going to say what comes to mind. It's as long as it is, whatever, like I do with all my videos. But I decided to do this one first. So I do have a question before I get into it. Chicago, what the fuck is wrong with you? Now, of course, I'm not talking to the law-abiding citizens of Chicago. But Chicago, what the fuck is going on? Because yesterday, a little girl, and you know what? I'm starting to think, so you got this little girl who got killed, you got Tyshawn Lee who got killed, you got that 13-year-old girl, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, she got killed. She was the one who was foolish enough to be dancing in her living room, the nerve. But you got all these kids getting knocked off by these fucking savages. And side note, Chicago PD has like a 13 or 17% clearance rate for these homicides. And I'm not saying it's their fault, because there is this ridiculous, stupid, detrimental policy of no snitching in the hood. But they don't have a very good clearance rate, so chances are these people are going to get away with these killings. But since there's so many kids getting killed, oh, don't forget the one where these dumbass savages were out there shooting at somebody, and during their getaway, they ran over a 1.5-year-old in a stroller. Of course. So all these kids getting knocked off, I'm starting to wonder, maybe it's the kids' fault. Maybe these kids shouldn't be such kids. Like I said, the 13-year-old girl, she's in her living room dancing, being a 13-year-old. What was she thinking? Tyshawn Lee, you know, a little boy who was assassinated as a retaliation killing against his father, who was a fucking gangbanger. It was his fault for going to his grandma's house in the morning. What was that kid thinking going to school in the morning with a backpack on? He was asking for it. He was asking for those savages to shoot him 7 times in his chest. Yeah, it's his fault. And then that, of course, the most ridiculous one of all, this 1.5-year-old, what were you doing sitting in a stroller with your mama? Why weren't you off doing something that wasn't kid-like? You just sitting there being a kid, being a toddler. That was your fault. You shouldn't have been in that intersection when those fools were fleeing the scene of a crime. And then you got this little girl. She had the unmitigated gall, the nerve, the audacity to be sitting in the car with her dad at McDonald's. Can you believe that fucking kid? And they said that she liked to be silly and do TikTok dance videos. And she was the life of the house. She would brighten up a room when she went in there. You can't be doing that shit, kids. You can't be sitting in a car in a drive-thru having a good time with your father. Because when you do that, you attract violence. It's these kids' fault. Because it's obviously not the fault of these fucking demons that are shooting them. Because that's not what I'm hearing from the mainstream mediocres. They're telling me that it's cops out there. It's racist white cops killing all these black folks. So if it's not the fault of these savages, it's got to be these kids. You kids of Chicago, you can't go out there being carefree and having fun and enjoying your childhood like that. Okay? When you do that, you're a magnet for trouble and violence. So knock it off, kids of Chicago. Yes, that happened. A 7-year-old girl, this beautiful little kid named Jaslyn Adams, 7, was in the drive-thru with her dad like they always did. Huh? Like they always did, because her parents are split up. Her dad's still doing his job, being in her life. And when he hangs out with her, when he picks her up, they go to Mickey D's. So he's sitting in the car with her at Mickey D's, probably singing some pop song, or maybe they got it on Kids Bop Radio, you know, where they remix songs, but they make it G-rated for kids. So they're probably singing along, waiting for their food, and these disgusting, savage pieces of shit roll up and they spray that car with bullets. Now her father, he got hit once in the torso. But this little girl, keep in mind, 7 years old, stop for a second, guys. If you have little kids, try to imagine remember when they were 7. Remember that cute little face? Remember the funny, silly things that they would say? Think of that. Now, this little girl, with all in her 7-year-old glory, is sitting in the back seat of this car, and she got hit 6 times with 6 bullets. You know how fast bullets travel? You know how bullets feel when they hit your flesh? I've never been shot, but from pretty much all the accounts I've read about or seen recordings of, talking to people who got shot, they say those bullets are hot. They say that the bullets burn. And this tiny 7 years old, what is she, 50 pounds? 60 pounds maybe? They got the picture of her with her cute little braids in her hair. Yeah, her. She got shot 6 times in her little body. What do you think that felt like? You think that hurt her? You think she screamed out in pain and agony because she just got 6 rounds in her body? Probably. So then you got these racist ass cops that show up on the scene, and these racist motherfuckers have the nerve to get out and start performing CPR on this baby. The ambulance ain't gonna come in time, so they throw her little body in the back of the police car. You got a cop driving and a cop doing CPR on her. That racist son of a bitch. He's doing chest compressions on this little girl. She's going like this, her little lifeless face. Blood all over his hands and his uniform. Trying to save this little girl's life despite the fact that they're fucking demonized by their own leader, their own mayor, Mayor Lightweight, the Rat King. Now, you remember I mentioned in the video the other day that, remember that little boy, what's his name? Adam Toledo, the 13-year-old little homicide, little Diablo they called him, you know, the one that the cops killed. So this googly-eyed bitch, this look-alike of the sloth in Ice Age, Splinter, I call her Splinter because Chicago's #1 in rat infestations for the 6th year in a row. So she's Splinter. If you don't know who Splinter is, if you want a child of the 80s and 90s, you didn't have kids in that time, Splinter was the rat that trained the Ninja Turtles. Anyway, the Rat King got up there during a press conference. She came in person and was crying, saying, I have a 13-year-old, and to see this poor little boy, she cried. She came out in person, had a press conference, and cried. So this 7-year-old girl is gunned down by these savage sons of bitches, okay? Not a justified shooting by a peace officer, just some wild, crazy bastards in the street. And they pumped this little girl full of lead, and you know what the Rat King did? You know what Splinter did? She sent out a tweet. Yeah, she didn't show up. She didn't have a press conference. She didn't shed any tears. She sent out a tweet. She used these. My heart is broken. I'm so sad Chicago lost another kid, blah, blah, and fucking blah. So the cops kill a colored kid, right? He was a little lower on the color chart because we're all colored. He was about mid-color chart. Cop killed him. 13-year-old, I have a 13-year-old. 7-year-old girl killed by savages. My heart is broken. Chicagoans, Americans, what else do you need to know? These motherfuckers aren't serious about solving the problem. They're serious about stoking the fire. They're serious about race baiting and race pimping. That's what they're serious about. But there was one good thing, I guess, if you could call this a silver lining. This poor little girl murdered. So, and Maxine Waters, since you want to stick your nose in other states' business while your precinct, while your district falls apart, why don't you go out here and say that those bastards need to be charged with first-degree murder and found guilty? Why don't you do that? Of course, that wouldn't help your cause. That wouldn't help your narrative. You're not going to set foot in Chicago till a white cop kills a black kid. Then you'll be there. But here's the possible silver lining, if you can even call it that. For the first time that I've seen, it was all men at this press conference they held. They had an older gentleman there. I can't remember his title. You'll see in the video. He said, you shot that baby 6 times. That does not make you a man. These gangbangers, it was all men out there. It was good to see. Because usually when this shit happens, you got a bunch of women out there saying a bunch of stupid shit. And I'm not saying they're saying stupid shit because they're women, but that's what you see. Because usually all the men are locked up or they're dead. So you got all these single-parent homes ran by women. But this time, it was all men. It was good to see. They weren't out there wrapped up in fucking blankets talking about, say her name. Why don't you say her name? Why don't we all know Jocelyn Adams instead of Mike Brown or fucking George Floyd or Dante Wright or Jacob Blake or Breonna Taylor? Why don't we say Tyshawn Lee or Jocelyn Adams? Tony Tippa? Anybody? No, because they're not serious about the problem. They're serious about that money. They're serious about that narrative. Because if they were serious about the so-called police brutality or the so-called gun violence in America, that we would know all their names, not selected names. We would know all the names, and we know the real names, not these thugs getting their life ended for doing thug shit. We would know the names of kids like Jocelyn Adams, whose lives were snuffed out on some bullshit by some savages. Now, what should happen, since American stomachs aren't strong enough, these bastards need to be rounded up and shipped to a country where they can handle shit like this. They need to be skinned, they need to be boiled, and they need to be thrown into a wood chipper feet first. Because if you can shoot a child 6 times, you need to die. You need to die bad. I saw this story about this woman in Southern California. She stabbed her 3 children to death with a knife. I said in the comment section, why is this woman still alive? I'm sure they can find a body of water to drown her in. Because you're obviously a demon, you're a monster, and you can't function in regular society. And can you believe there were people that were like, that's murder. We shouldn't take the law into our own hands. Let the justice system figure it out. No, the justice system can't handle this. Our justice system isn't set up to punish these people. It's set up to rehabilitate and make sure they're okay. Fuck them. You kill a child, you gotta be burned or something. Not sent to prison where you can rise in the ranks of a criminal organization or put on weight or learn how to play handball or get some college degrees. No. There are certain crimes that you should be rehabilitated for, and there are some crimes where you need to die in the most horrible way humanly possible. This is one of them. And you know what? What day is it? April 19th or something like that? The 20th, 18th? I think it's the 19th. We're only in spring. You know how Chicago gets in the summer? You know what Chicago does in the summer? This is spring. And I'm sure this isn't the first little girl to be shot and killed. This is just the latest. And it's going to continue, and it's going to continue, because what they want to do is throw money at the problem, and they want to build community centers and outreach. Build the family, and you won't turn out monsters like the ones that did this to that little girl. Your social programs and your fucking murals on the wall ain't doing shit. Because you got the murals, you got the ridiculous protests on some bullshit, and stuff like this still happens. Like I said, it's only the spring. Chicago gets hot in the summer in more than one way. So I'm going to go in here and hug my kids just a little bit tighter. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, because every time it rings, a piece of shit lefty cries. Get your Jericho Green notification tone, link in the description box. Utilize the PayPal link and the Teespring link to get your green gear. I am Jericho Green. Man, I'm out.